Okay, so it's now the next day. So it's got 2 coats of the sanding sealer on it, and I've just left it overnight to dry. So it's dried up quite nicely. There are a few lumps or build-ups or high spots or whatever, mainly just around the edges, you can kind of see there. So I'll just give it a very light sand, either with just some 400 grit sandpaper, or maybe some steel wool, see how it goes. And then once I've done that, I can get started on the wax, but it's feeling like the grain has really kind of stuck out. You can kind of feel it, which I'm hoping will mean that when I start putting the wax on, I'll get this nice contrasting effect between these grain lines here and the actual body of the wood itself, which is the goal. So I'll sand it now. I won't record that because it's kind of boring, just 10 minutes of me sanding. So I'll just give it a quick sand now and then come back to it. So I've just finished giving it a quick once over with just I've just got some 000 steel wool. So I just gave it a quick light sand, I guess, just to knock off any high spots and kind of just smooth it out. And there was a little bit of build up around these edges there, which I just helped knock that back a bit. There's still a slight build up. I don't know if you can see that. It's not focusing very well, but I'm not going to go too hard on there because it's quite a sharp corner. The sanding sealer will be quite thin, so I don't want to take it too far, but it should be alright. So the next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a coat of black wax just to bring out these grain lines. I could probably leave it now, like it's looking pretty good, and I'd be happy to leave it, you know, as is, and just give it a few coats of poly or lacquer, but that'd be too easy. So I'm going to give it a few coats of wax. So what I'm using is just shoe polish wax. I picked this up from a couple YouTube videos. I can't remember the name or who it was, but I'll put a link somewhere. So I'm just going to get just a clean cloth. This is an old t-shirt that I cut up. Give it a few nice heavy, well, just one nice heavy coat of the shoe polish. I'll let that sit for probably a while to nice and get into those get into that grain, and hopefully, because it's got the sanding sealer on it, it's blocked up all the pores, so it won't soak into the wood. It'll just soak into those grain lines and hopefully get a really nice effect. Alright, so again, I'm just going to give it a quick wipe with this chucks, which is just a little bit damp, and that'll just help collect all the dust. There's a little, looks like a piece of hair or something caught there. I'll just knock that back. There we go. I won't go too heavy on that. Alright, so I just got rid of made sure I'd get rid of all the dust. I'll just quickly dry it off. Nice smooth surface. Alright, so I'm just going to get this shoe polish, put it on nice and thick, and hopefully we'll get quite a nice effect out of that. So I don't know how good it looks on camera, but I've put quite a heavy, thick coat on. The only thing is it's drying quite quickly. I can already see the black soaking into those grain lines, which it looks great. It's just drying a little too quickly, and I can't quite generate enough friction just by rubbing it on to keep it nice and even. So I'm just gonna, with this heat gun, just very, very low, just heat that wax up just a little bit so that I can massage it into the pores nicely, and yeah, so I don't. So that wasn't really working, so what I've just done instead is just applied the heat gun directly to the shoe polish just to make it a little more liquidy, and that's going on quite nicely now. So I'm putting it on quite thick and heavy, but that's alright because I'll wipe it all off later. So that should be okay for now. I'm just going to leave this to dry. Probably leave it for 10-20 minutes, longer the better. So I'm just going to leave it to dry, let that shoe polish just soak in for as long as possible, and then I'll come back later and do the other side. Okay, alright, so this has just been sitting in the shed for, I think I ended up leaving it for about an hour, just to let it dry and soak it and all that. So it's now dry to the touch, and there's a few clumps and build-ups on the side, but that's fine. So now that that's all on, I can start putting the outer coat on. So I've got just some wipe-on poly. So what I'm going to do is just put that on fairly liberally, and what that hopefully will do is it's going to take away all of this excess shoe polish wax, and it'll just leave behind, I don't know if you see that nice grain pattern there. So we should get a nice contrasting pattern. I don't know how well that shows up on camera. Where are we? There we are. So you can see there, which I think it looks really nice so far. We've got that nice black pattern. It's really brought out the grain from from the shoe polish. So I've done that side. I'll let it dry for probably about 2 hours, and then I'll just keep giving it another coat every 2 hours or so once it's dry. So this will probably be the end of the video for today, I think. I'm really happy with how it's going so far. It's just that subtle black grain, which I think it looks really nice. The rest of the process will just be the same. Just applying the wipe-on poly with a rag, and recoating probably every 2 hours. And then I'll probably just knock it back maybe after every 3 or 4 coats with a bit of steel wool. But yeah, that's all there pretty much is to it, so I think I'll leave it at there for today.